Hello, everybody. I'm Helen, and I teach at the Dorothy Benson Senior Services Center. And this is week number 3 of our Pre-Columbian pottery, influenced by Pre-Columbian pottery. So I was working on, this is our first one we were doing. And, you know, I think I have to make quite a few of these before I get the hang of it. Okay, I had the right elements, but I probably should have done the legs more pointy. So I don't know if you can tell, but this is supposed to be a possum, okay? And I got its feet and then I've got its tail. Now I did off camera, I did spend hours painting with underglaze these triangles, okay? They're supposed to be abstract representations of the possum babies that a mother possum carries on her back. So I kind of made it like that. Now, with the underglaze, which is basically a colored clay, you need to paint 3 coats. So I had to smooth out the clay, let it dry, not probably a little bit like leather hard. And then I painted 3 coats. So you have to let it dry between coats. It's a little bit tricky because the first coat will probably dry right away, but the second and third coats probably take a while to dry. So you have to just monitor this. And notice that I've got the tail, almost all of the tails attached to the body, because you don't want this skinny thing to be on its own because it'll just easily break off. Right at the tip, I don't have it attached, so hopefully nothing snags it and it breaks off. And the ears might be a little bit fragile. If somebody knocks into it, it'll break off. I did attach the head. It's basically a small pinch pot, and I have 3 holes just in case like water gets in it, and then the water will be able to get out. Plus, you do want some kind of a pinhole, otherwise, the air will get trapped and it'll crack the clay. The legs are basically cylinders, okay? So they're hollow inside. They look pretty solid, but they're hollow inside. And then the lid is just this opening right here, okay? So it might not look exactly like the Pre-Columbian pots. A lot of their work doesn't look real cutesy, and this guy's looking a little bit cute, too cute maybe. Maybe I should have done a ferocious looking jaguar or something, but I just wanted to do a possum, okay? So today we're going to do the other kind where we have the handles, and I'll show you what that's going to look like. Let's see. Oh, wrong place. Okay. All right, so today I'm probably going to do the bird on the left, okay? It's kind of standing on the cylinder as feet, but look at the little teeny tiny detail where, right here, it's really cute. Okay, I'm probably not going to do this part, but I'm not sure. It has a little stubby tail. And I believe this one, the liquid goes in here and it comes out its beak, okay? On this one, it looks like it has 2 openings, one on each side representing the wings. So I think, I'm not sure if this is an opening where the liquid goes in. This looks awfully kind of thin for that. So it could be that the liquid goes in this way, and it doesn't look like it comes out the beak. But on this one, it looks like the liquid goes in here and it comes out the beak. So I'm going to aim for something like that, okay? So let me put this one aside, let it dry slowly. Okay. So once again, I'm going to start with 2 pinch pots. And if you're making something huge, you might want to use like a bowl to help you form the pinch pot. And these I made this morning, and they're still a little bit soft and wet, but I'll see if I can work with this, okay? A bird's body is kind of like an egg shape. It's kind of pointy at one end and round at the other end. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. And let's see, I need to make a decision as to where the top and where the bottom is going to be. Okay, I think this guy's going to be the, I had a hard time making this for some reason. I think it's because I didn't wedge the clay well enough. So right now, my little pinch pot, a big pinch pot. If you want something bigger, you can use a bigger bowl, or you can, build one up by using the coil method, but forming it in a bigger mold is a lot easier and faster than forming it by the coil method. Okay, you can always add coils to like half of a bowl. I mean, a bowl of, if you formed it in the bowl, you can continue to add coils to it, or you can form it in two bowls and put them together like I did, okay? So let's see if I can smooth this out the best I can. It's a bit lumpy today. And like I said, if you don't wedge it really well, you'll have hard pieces and a little bit softer pieces, and it makes it a little bit difficult to get it even. Okay. So this is going to be the bottom, and it's kind of sagging on me because the weight of the clay. All right. Let's see. Now I'm going to cut this rim because it's quite messy and uneven. Okay, looks like a big Easter egg, chocolate Easter egg. All right, now this is supposed to go on top. That's going to be big. Okay. Let me trim this one too. It's a little bit messy, so even this out. So I'm not sure if this is going to be a duck or what kind of bird it is. It's probably going to be some generic strange bird. Okay, today I'm using the white clay. The other possum piece, it's a Lizella dark clay, and what's going to happen is the underglaze is a black. It's actually a blue-black because I only had a little bit of black underglaze from another project, and I had some teal blue underglaze, so I just kind of added some of that teal blue. So, but it should come out blackish. The clay body itself is going to fire to a brick red, so it's going to be like a dark brownish red. Okay. So it should be like a dark brownish red and black designs. Not a high contrast, but it's still going to be pretty visible. Okay, now if I'm really concerned about this thing collapsing because it's so soft, I can add paper, but I'm probably not going to be able to dig out the paper, remove the paper later. I could get it fired with the paper in there, and it'll just turn to ash, and some of it will come out. A lot of it will come out. I don't think I want that right now. So, and once again, I don't have slip. I never have slip. I don't have much space, so to have a bottle of slip here is just too much trouble for me. Plus, I have so many different clays that I'm using that I can't seem to keep track of which one's which. It would be logical for me to label things, but I won't get around to it. Okay, so I'm putting the two together. trapping the air. Okay. And then I'm going to seal this, pushing some of this clay up. So we'll do this in real time too, so you can see how long it's going to take. Okay. Here. Then we go the opposite direction, down. Okay, I've got a little dent right here. I got to deal with that. Just want a good seal. Make sure there's no holes, that the air is trapped really good in there. Okay, so I got some big dents here. So I will take some wet clay, and I guess I should kind of score it here. Oh, it's really a big dent. And this is really wet clay. I'm just gonna carefully, it must be real thin though. Okay, it's gonna be either a very fat bird or a big bird. Maybe like an emu or ostrich or something. All right, now we're gonna take our flexible rib. This is a very good tool to have, this flexible rib. Okay, remember you can flex it, curve it like this, and push and pull the best you can. Oh, I forgot to put a coil around the whole thing. Thought it wasn't working too good. Okay, so we're gonna put a wet coil where we joined it to reinforce that joint. Okay, so push gently, okay, because right now the air is trapped. It's pretty cool. Feels like a balloon, you know, when you push a balloon and it kind of like moves to the other side, the air. Okay, don't pop it. Okay. Now we can, I need to take, you need like a stiff wooden, something stiff. And you're pushing and pulling. Okay, you're just not doing the surface thing. You're really pushing as much as you can and pulling, okay? You want to really merge. Don't do it so hard that it's going to pop your clay balloon. That's what we're going to call it, a clay balloon. Okay, and you don't have to be neat about it right now because we'll neaten it up in a little bit. Okay, I'm going to go in the other direction. Just want to fill in all those little dents. Oops, it's real thin right here. I can feel it. It's kind of pushed itself in. Okay, now we're going to take our flexible rib, flex it, and once again push and pull. I have all kinds of dents on this. So note to self, wedge the clay really good. Don't be lazy about it. It's reclaimed clay, so it has dry, hard and wet areas, and I really should have wedged it better. Get an even consistency. Okay. I think I've got most of it. All right. Oh, there's a big piece. Okay. Now we're gonna shape it and very gently shape it. The weight of the clay is flattening out the bottom of my piece. So as it slowly dries, I'll have to keep shaping the bottom. I'm not putting a what is it, a cylinder foot on this yet, because the bottom's going to sag on me. So until it becomes almost leather hard, I can't really put a foot on this. Okay, right now I'm trying to shape it into kind of a bird, I guess. I don't really know what a bird shape is like, but we'll get, it's okay if it's abstract. Okay, now my top is kind of sagging. Let me see if I can pound it into shape. Take this. You have to tap very gently, okay? Little taps. Wooden spoon, wooden paddle, whatever you have. And you can actually shape it pretty good. Now on this piece, because the clay is going to fire to a whitish color, like a cream white, I'm going to use, yeah, it's going to have higher contrast when I paint it with the underglaze. I could paint it with a reddish underglaze. So think about like they had access to like ochre, which is, ground up ochre. It's like an iron rock ore, and a yellowish color. And I believe all of these are pit fired, or most of them are pit fired. So a lot of times the clay just gets blackened, unless they use the clay that, they can probably use a clay that's reddish tone, and then carefully fire it so it doesn't get all that soot on it and make it black. Okay, so kind of a bird shape. So if you notice the bottom has sag, and I'll work on that later. I need to make the bird's head. So let's see, I'm kind of guessing he's probably going to be like pretty big. And then I've got to make its little tail. So once again, for the head, and this is that recycled clay, so I'm going to have to wedge this pretty good. For the head, I'm going to make a little tiny pinch pot, and then shape the head from that. If you get good at making pinch pots, you can make all kinds of stuff with it. It's a good skill to have, making pretty good pinch pots, okay? So this is a little tiny piece of clay, but I'm going to try to wedge it. Mix it up really good. Mix the wet and hard parts. Keep turning it. Okay, I think that's pretty good. All right, now I've got to turn this into a pinch pot, but make it like an egg shape in the end. I think birds' heads are kind of egg shaped, but I have a beak I have to deal with, so it might not work on the first try, but we'll try. Actually, I'm gonna include the beak in this thing, so I'm gonna squeeze out some of this for the beak. That sample example I showed you kind of looked like one of them, the black one kind of looked like a vulture almost, or maybe it was the brown one. So I'm just gonna, that's gonna be the beak part. So it may not work on the first try, and then you just smush up your wedge of clay again and try again. Okay. And do it slowly. I'm gonna kind of look. And I am going to try to thin this guy out. Don't want it too thick. Now remember, I can't get to the inside of this pot once it's all put because it's going to have that really thin cylindrical spout. So, and I definitely can't get inside the head part. So I need to make this thin. Okay, it's a little bit too round. So let's see if I can squeeze it back into. So putting this this pot together, it might take you about 2 hours, depending on how wet your clay is. Because sometimes you have to let it stiffen up before you can add stuff to it. And I'm not letting this stiffen up right now because I don't have the time right now. So what I'll have to do is after I attach the head, I'm going to have to work on the bottom. So a lot of hand building with clay is you put something together and then you have to put it aside and let it set up, and then you come back to it. So it's hard to finish everything in one setting. It is possible, but okay, this head is way too big and round. Let's see if I can make it skinnier. Okay, it might be easier to just start all over because it's flared out way too much. Yeah, it's flared out way too much. Okay, let me start all over in this one. And it's dried out on me because your hand is warm and it will dry out your clay. So let me wedge this with a little piece of wet clay. Okay. This time I'm going to form it into a cone. Okay, let me start with this shape. Okay, I'm pushing and pulling here. I want the clay not just smoothing out the surface, just pushing, pull. I want it to merge. Okay, I didn't wedge this really good. I could feel a hard part. That's okay. Oh, it looks like a dolphin right now. Okay, so let's see. I'm probably going to have a hard time getting my finger in there. I'll try it with this. Okay, so I've got a big hole there. And see if I can this up. Okay, it's looking a little bit better. Okay, I believe the bottom under its neck, under its beak or neck, it's not round. I think that's how birds are. So I'll kind of flatten that part out. And I guess the head needs to be big because this guy's kind of big. This part we have a soft part. Push that really good. Okay. Oops. I do not have an even wall. Even thickness of a wall. It's a lumpy head right now. Now I'm going to make this the spout, so I'll cut it open later, I think. Yeah. Let's see if I can get this a little bit more even. Okay. So that's an awfully big head. That's okay. Okay, I'm kind of squeezing in this part. And have to make a decision where I'm going to attach it. So, okay. Let's see, at this angle maybe. All right, so I'm going to cut this at that angle. That. Check it. I could do it higher. Okay, now I got to make sure it's not that thick on the inside. And shape it just the way I want it. Okay, checking the beak area. And you want to shape it the way you, oops, the best you can right here. It's going to be a little bit harder to shape once it's attaching. I did not wedge this very well. Okay, now I have to decide where it's going to attach. I think I'm going to have it up a little bit, and then what was that? Let's see. I think it came this way and then had a spout. I'll have to look in the picture again. So we're going to mark where this is going to be attached. It might be a little bit crooked. That's okay. Okay, so I marked it and I'm going to score it. I'm going to wet this part. Okay, normally I would let that stiffen up a little bit. And also, I really would cut this open because I have to actually cut it open because that's where the liquid's going to come out, its beak. When I do that, I'm going to lose all the air. So I have to make a decision because I haven't finished shaping the bottom. So in this case, what I will do is let this piece and this piece stiffen up a little bit and shape the bottom until it's firm before I attached it, before I cut this open and attach it. But because of the time situation, I'm gonna try to do this without doing that. It's going to give me problems. Okay, so, oops. So this is gonna be attached here. But I'm going to lose the air once I cut that opening. And felt the air come out. Now, because you would let this stiffen up before you cut the opening. And then once you cut the opening, you can actually reach in. I don't know if you can reach in, maybe you can reach in with a tool to smooth out that joint we made. Let me see if I can feel it. Yeah. Yeah, I could take a tool and kind of smooth out. Now, if this was coil built, you wouldn't have to do that because you would be smoothing it out as you go. But since this is a pinch pop method, if you are actually going to use this as a teapot, then you would need to smooth that out and you would need to glaze the inside. Okay, so I need to carefully, without collapsing the whole thing too much. Okay, I'm just going to gently, oops, I may have made a hole too big. Get this in position, kind of wiggle it, and I will try to keep the air trapped in there, okay? So very carefully pushing this down in here. Okay, so I'm going to put a coil here. I'm not going to continue to do that because I don't think I have a good seal right there. And I don't want to lose any air, any more air. So let me find some wet clay. Okay, I'm just going to carefully seal that up. And very gently, but I am still pushing. So hopefully I have no holes and I've got the air trapped in there still. Okay. Let's see if I can smooth this out gently. Okay. Okay, I think I have that attached pretty good and feels like the air is still trapped in there, so that's good. Okay. Now, let's see if I can shape it a little bit here. Start bulging out. So as I'm gonna have to monitor this the rest of the day. And as it slowly stiffens up, I can continue to lift the bottom up. Okay, right now it's still sagging from the weight. Okay, I've got to put a tail on this guy. So let's mark where he's going to be. The tail is going to be. I'm going to put it way down here. Okay, so that's where the tail is going to be. And you don't want your clay to be like a solid chunk. So the tail is probably going to be less than ½ an inch thick. Okay. It's going to be a tail like that, I think. Where is it? Yeah. Okay. So we're going to smooth that out. Squeeze out your sponge. Got a mess here. Okay. Don't get it sopping wet, but use this to smooth it out. If you can, shape it like right now. Okay. It's a little bit harder to shape stuff once it's all attached. So it's a little bit, not too thin, but a little bit thin. Let's see, kind of like a wedge shape. Okay. Kind of like this kind of shape. Okay, so I think I'm gonna have it there. And we'll have to cut it. Let's see, maybe that's good. Maybe that sticks out way too much. Okay, just a little bit more. Okay, I think it's a little bit too thick here. I'll thin this out a little bit more. Okay, give it a little stubby little tail. I'm going to curve it a little bit, okay? Because this is kind of curved. Okay, you will do this after you've shaped your whole bird up. I have to do this quickly right now because I have, we don't have that time to wait. So once again, if I'm actually working on stuff, I will work on a couple of projects at the same time, at least 2, because a lot of times you have to wait for something to stiffen up or dry. Okay, so I'm going to wiggle that a little bit. I score both sides. I don't have slips, so I'm just going to wiggle until I can feel the suction. I'm not feeling the suction yet. Okay, there we go. What that's doing is I'm making slip in that space. Okay. And then I'm going to take this tool again. Rid of that dry clay on there. Okay. So I'm gonna put a little coil there, wet coil. You kind of don't want something that looks like it's just stuck on like this, okay? You want a transition to happen here. So you want like a nice curve. Put that coil, push and pull towards the body, and then support the tail and push and pull towards the tail, okay? So we have a nicer curve right here. Sides. And I probably need a little coil on the bottom side too. It's already thick there, so I'm gonna make it very thin. Just the reinforcement. Kind of hard to see what's going on here. Okay. So we gave it a little stubby tail. I think I have that. All right. All right. I'm going to continue to lift this up, and right, it's still sagging, and oh my God. Now, I will make the cylinder for its feet, but not now because this is way too wet, but I can go ahead and make the cylinder and we can let that stiffen up. Okay. And I also need to make the handle and the little spout like thing. So right now I have to keep the air trapped in the bird. Otherwise the whole thing is going to sag on me. Okay. So this is going to be a cylinder. You know, I can do it two ways. I can either roll out a slab, or I can put a rod inside. And I don't think I have a rod that's big enough. Let's see what I have. Okay, I don't really have a rod that's big enough. I'm going to try this, see if this works, okay? Usually you want something a little bit thicker in diameter than this. So if you're careful, you can, what you're doing is you're actually, this guy is pushing the clay on the inside. So it's opening up like that. And that way you don't have to roll out a slab, and you won't have to deal with that seam. So I'm just gonna, so normally you would have a, you know, a much bigger diameter. I don't have one. Okay, so I have to decide how wide this is going to be. I can pretend my thumbs are the rod and push from the inside like this. Okay, just hard to get an even wall. Okay, and just, that might be good. You just have to kind of eyeball it. Might be a little bit too thick, so let's see. Now this cylinder, you want it to stiffen up because you're going to put this whole massive weight on top of it. It's going to hold it up. I'm going to see how much. Okay. And when you put this on, you will have to support it until it gets leather hard. So I'm just going to roll it out. I'm going to actually make it wider than, because I don't want it to, you know, topple over. If it's too thin, I mean, if it's too small diameter, it's going to topple over. So see how you don't have to, you know, have a seam. So it's pretty cool. Okay, now I'm going to try to even out the walls if I can. I'm just squeezing it a little bit. When I do this, it's going to widen the whole thing a little bit. Okay. I'm just kind of eyeball it. Okay, I do want it that big. All right, so we're going to have to let this stiffen up. And I may just clean this. This is going to be the bottom, so I got to clean that up. And don't forget, it has to have those teeny tiny little feet sticking out. Okay, so I'm smoothing that out. I don't think it has to be an up and down straight cylinder. I think it can flare out. Probably more stable if it flares out. Okay, I'm going to let this stiffen up, but I do need to add the feet right now. So we will add the feet, and then we will come back next week. And I may have to put this together before off camera, depending on how dry it gets. But I'll show you next week how to put the little cylinders, not cylinders, handle and spout on there, okay? Right now I have to make the little teeny tiny feet, so I'm gonna cut this and make little cones. Okay. Kind of like eyeball it. It doesn't have to look exactly like what we saw. Okay. So I will put these guys in the thinnest part. So we're looking at this upside down, okay? Right side up, it would look like this, okay? So I'm going to attach these. Wet that, score it. Wet that, score it. Oops. Okay, I'm just gonna wiggle, 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 and see if I can make slip in between. Okay, I got good suction there. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Okay, so right now it's upside down. I'm working on the bottom. And if your fingers are too big, you can always use something like this to smooth it out. Okay. Since I can't see the top side, I'll have to wait until later to work on the top side. Okay, right now I just want, that might be sticking out too much. No, I guess I can work on it this way too. All right, maybe it's a little bit too much, so. Yeah, the feet are way too long. So you don't want to put like really thin pieces there, okay? Because it'll break off. So you still want that cone shape for stability. I'm just going to, I could have put one lump and just cut it here with a knife and spread it out, okay? Now, I'm not gonna let this stick on the bottom. I'm gonna lift it up a little bit. Okay, so the points are gonna be blunted. And I'm gonna lift it up just a little bit. Because when you set this down on a table, you might hit the feet first and then it'll break off. So, okay, let's see what that looks like. So see, they're not flat, right flat onto the table. It's a little bit up. So right now the clay is super wet, so I'll just keep working on that. But right now, I'm gonna let that dry, make sure it's round. In fact, this side should be flared out because it's gonna attach to the body. You want to keep this a little bit wetter than the bottom, okay? Okay. Let that, not even a circle anymore. Okay. Now, let's say you know how to throw on the wheel, you had access to a wheel. If you made all these on the wheel, it's going to be nice and perfect, but it's just not going to have as much character for some reason. It's just too perfect. So this hand-built method, I think is kind of fun. It just makes it more interesting. Okay, I'm going to let that stiffen up and not mess with it anymore. So next week, you might see me have this attached already, but I will show you how to make that spout like skinny little cylinder and handle. And meanwhile, I'm going to shape this guy up because he is sagging on the bottom a whole lot. He's a big bird, okay? So as he stiffens up, I'm just going to keep pushing the bottom up, okay? So we will see you next week for our final Pre-Colombian spouted, whatever this is, a jug or whatever, pitcher, yeah. Okay, so we will see you next week. Let's see, I can't get this to work.